Hey there traders, week 17 of the year is in the books, and I just wanted to give you a video recap of the trades that we took last week at the StockBandit.com inside the member area. So, I just wanted to show you the kinds of plays that I've been focused on, what's been working well, and of course, which ones have not been working well. We can learn as much from those or more as the ones which actually do work. So let me just walk you through the week as it occurred. On Monday, I only closed one position. I took no trade entries. I had a few shorts that were candidates that I had set up from last Sunday night, but we gapped through the intended price for those for day trades, and that negated them as per my trading rules and my day trading strategy. But I did close out one position. It was a swing trade in this Yandex, YNDX, which I had gotten long on a break of this trend line here back on this day, which was April 16th. I want to get long through this trend line, and we saw a couple days of upside, a little bit of a pullback, and another attempt higher, and then this thing kind of stalled out. And right here, as it undercut multi-day support, that was Monday's bar, and that's where I stopped out of this stock. I took a 3.7% loss in this swing trade. But anytime a stock fails to move higher after giving it several opportunities to do so, and it does start to fail this pattern and break down, there's no need to hang around. When a stock is not doing something that's technically healthy, you just get out and move on, and that's what I did in this position. On Tuesday, I took a trade in this Whirlpool, WHR. The stock had sold off pretty good and then had kind of stabilized here and actually turned higher on Monday. So I just wanted to see some follow through, and on Tuesday, that's kind of what I did. I wanted to get along through the 66.10 level as Monday's high was cleared. I nearly got stopped out intraday, but it did rally on up to this 67.28 level before backing off a bit into the afternoon. So that was a nice little trade. That moved $1.18 to its best level, and it did back off a little bit from there. But all in all, a nice trade. I also took a trade in this Dunkin' Donuts, DNKN, which had this descending trend line right here. And on Monday, the stock finished strong and just beneath that trend line. I wanted to get long on a break through that trend line, and so I got long right here at 31.40. And this is the daily chart. Let me just show you the intraday chart. This is the 3-minute chart, and I'm going to zoom out here. But right here, this was on Tuesday, right over here. I got long through the 31.40 level, and that is right about here. And this thing rallied back up to the 31.92 level. So it didn't make a ton of progress. It made some progress. I had a chance to close out a 52-cent winner right there. I did not sell at the high. I actually stopped out at break even because we saw that 31.40 area hold as support until kind of midday, and we broke through there, and that's when I bailed out. So this thing had a chance to run. Offered a decent little initial profit, but I didn't book it. I just closed it out for a flat in a break-even trade. On Wednesday, I took a trade in this TK Shipping, and we had a really nice symmetrical triangle pattern here. I wanted to get long through the upside if it was cleared, which it was on Wednesday. I got long at 35.80. It's right as this upper trend line was crossed, and had some pretty erratic price action. This thing topped out at 36.25, so it did not get that far. It did offer a couple of chances to book an okay gain. Ultimately, it closed just above my trigger price. So I booked some a little bit higher, and I booked the rest at the end of the day. So it's kind of a mixed exit, slightly profitable at that. I did also take a trade, or I exited a trade in this pot, which was a swing trade that I took a couple of weeks ago in the member area, and I got long through this trendline break. We had a stock that's in a very well-defined trading range here. It had sold off to the lower end of the range and stabilized above this support zone. Then we had this descending trend line here. I got long right here on this particular bar, looking for a move back higher within the range. Now I knew that earnings were coming, but this thing had roughly 10 calendar days at the point of my entry before earnings were due out. And so I took the trade. It started to go, it pulled back and tested support again. I almost got stopped out, and I had mentioned that I would definitely exit this stock on or before Wednesday because earnings were due out on Thursday, and I do not hold stocks into earnings reports. That's a complete coin toss. So this was a swing trade. I got a nice gap up on Wednesday. I booked that gain for a 2.3% winner. It just didn't quite have enough time to really make its move ahead of that major scheduled news. So, in keeping with my trading rule, I closed it out for this modest gain just to avoid the earnings gamble, since that's just not part of my strategy. It's not part of my long-term success as a trader. It's not just guessing how the market's going to respond to an earnings report. So I closed that position out on Wednesday for a 2.3% gain. On Thursday, I took a few trades. One of them was in this Monster Beverage. We had this real well-defined uptrend channel, which is still intact, by the way, and we had seen a very quiet pullback to this lower trend line, which held. We had a couple of days there, Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, which each held, tested and held that area, that uptrend line, this lower trend line, on a closing basis. So I wanted to get long if it could cross through this descending trend line for a push higher within the range. Keep in mind, this high was 65.53, and so that's really all I was looking for. I got long right here as this trend line was crossed. That's right there at 63.80. This thing rallied 2.8% to 65.63, so it got just slightly through there. I was way off. I think it made an extra 10-cent move, but that's all I was really looking for. So I closed out this one at the end of the day for a nice 2.5% winner at 65.45. So that was a nice $1.65 gain intraday. No pain, just a really nice clean trade. By the way, here's that intraday chart. You can see here on the intraday chart, I got long right here at the 63.80 area, and it just had a really nice clean uptrend. You can see nice series of higher lows there throughout the day, a minor pullback into the close, but not much. It was just kind of one of those trades that you could hold for the duration of the day. Now, also on Thursday, I closed out a swing trade in this Garmin, which I had been short upon a break of this rising trend line. I entered on this day right here, the 16th. This stock I had been long several weeks back as a swing trade. We saw this big gap up, which primarily was holding, and I got long here, and this thing just based for about a month and then finally broke down, and I stopped out. Well, now this thing sold off. It lifted minor, in a very minor fashion, and then acted like it wanted to head lower. So I actually got shorted here. This is not a revenge trade, by the way, but it had really well-defined resistance right here. We also had this unfilled gap right up here, which I really just wanted to see that gap hold. So we closed right near resistance on Wednesday. On Thursday, it pushed through that gap. It did stop me out. I closed this thing out for a 2.9% loss. But again, it had tried to break down here and again here and just couldn't stick. So when it reversed back up and it filled the gap, there's no need to hang around. And I just am not going to fight a stock that's not acting the way that I had originally expected. Also on Thursday, I took a trade in this VeriSign, VRSN. Really nice bull pennant type of pattern. You have the nice lift here in price and then these two converging trend lines, which is narrowing consolidation. I got long on a break of this upper trend line. That was right in here. That was at the 42.10 level. I saw really no initial follow through. It went slightly higher, but not much. It stopped me out on a downside reversal for a 43-cent loss. And it lifted a little bit later in the day, but overall it was just not a good setup. So took my 1% loss there. On Friday, I took a few trades as well. One of them was a day trade in this Sears Holding, SHLD, which has just been punished relentlessly since the middle of March. This thing has sold off from up here in the mid-80s to down here under $50. And, right around $50. $49.75 was the low right here. But that's a huge correction, and I've just been watching this descending trend line. It's been very clean along the way, and I felt like if price could kind of stabilize for a few days, then this thing has an opportunity to spike higher in a bounce type of a play, and that's all I was interested in taking it for. And so I wanted to get along through a multi-day high in this SHLD. That was at the $54 level, and it was a late trigger. Let me just show you the intraday chart here from Friday. Here's that 54 level. You can see that the stock kind of rallied right up to it. In the middle of the afternoon, it pushed through it, pulled back and tested it, and then it just went again. And it topped out here with about half an hour to go in the session, a little bit more than that. quick run though, up to 51.16. So real nice 2% move, and then as it started to pull back, I closed it out because it did kind of fizzle out late in the day, and we did see volume that was really nothing spectacular. It was just barely above average. And one of the tools that I use in my day trading shows me the relative volume, and this one just did not have much relative volume. So as soon as that pullback began, I closed it out. But it is on the radar in the week ahead because it still looks like it has some potential to lift out of this type of pattern. On Friday, I also took a day trade on the short side in this Chesapeake Energy. And this is just a stock that technically has been broken. We've seen a hard sell-off, some lateral price action, and I wanted to see if this thing could crack this 17 level, which it did on Friday. I got short there as that level was broken, but it really didn't stick. This thing then did reverse back higher, and that lack of follow-through resulted in a stop out for me of 18 cents. So not a big loss, as this thing did reclaim support. I don't want to be short as long as it's above that support zone. And then the last trade I took was in this UBNT, which is a stock that's been acting really well. We kind of had a similar trend line here to the one that was broken to the upside a few weeks ago, which produced a nice little 2-day move. And I was interested after Thursday's strong close on some improving volume in getting long if this trend line could get cleared on Friday. And that took place at $33 at the whole number. Really nice trend line break there. Let me show you the intraday chart here. And you can see that this thing crossed the 33 area right here, right after the open, and it pulled back and it nearly stopped me out. Got within just a few cents of my stop loss, but it held, and it just held that flat line really, and then lifted again. So we created a high right here in middle of the day, and it pulled back and rallied back up kind of mid to latter part of the afternoon, but it could not clear that morning high. So as soon as it started to pull back in here, it was clear to start exiting the stock, as the time is ticking on a day trade. You've got very little time to go, and it's just now failed at resistance. So all in all, really nice little trade there in this UBNT. At this peak, it was up 4.5% to 34.49. So I closed it out about a quarter beneath that. It was a really nice trade, and all in all, a pretty good week. So overall, it was a nice week of trading, and I actually had a number of other trades that I intended to take, but which were negated by gaps either to the upside or to the downside. And keep in mind, last week we had both. So, as per my trading strategy, I don't want to be chasing stocks through my entries like that, particularly for the shorter time period. So I stopped out for a couple of small losses, but I booked several larger winners, which really is the name of the game for my trading style, and that made for a nicely profitable week once again. So if you're looking for some trade ideas to add to your own, or if you're looking for some education to help you spot these types of plays, stop by thestockbandit.com. We'd love to show you what we're all about, and we'd love to have the opportunity to serve you and help you. Make it a great week of trading, and of course, do come back often for more goodies in the days ahead. Thanks for joining me for this episode, and I will see you soon with more, but until then, trade like a bandit.